Hi guys, welcome to the April Stamping Society tutorial where this month we are featuring a lot of our favourite products. Well, it's a whole mixture of things, basically from all of the current offerings from Stampin' Up. So the annual catalogue and the mini catalogue are still current, and we are combining a heap of all of our favourite products from both of those publications. So I got excited and found it really hard to choose, to be honest, because there's so many amazing products, but I decided to go with a product that I loved from the mini catalogue, or two actually, which was these beautiful dies here. They're the slim card dies. So these awesome dies come with two different dies and two different borders that are designed to suit a slimline card. So I've decided to use this big chevron one here today. So that's from the mini catalogue. And I also used this beautiful bundle from the mini catalogue, which is the Artfully Layered bundle. This is definitely one of my favourites. I absolutely love this bundle. And then as for the annual catalogue, the product that I decided to mash in here was this rainbow glimmer paper. It comes in 12 by 12 sheets, but I'll show you a full sheet. This is a glimmer paper that is ombre rainbow. It's amazing. I love it. And sadly, it is leaving our family of products. So if you want it, grab it now. But it's absolutely stunning paper. I've got quite a bit in here, so maybe I should make a ton of these cards. But in the meantime, we'll focus on this one. So the rainbow paper features like the blues, the greens, the purples, but I actually cut a section of it where I was just focusing on the beautiful pinks and oranges. So that's the combination of product. I'm going to bring in a couple other products that I'll show you as I go. Now, I'm just going to show you how to put together this card today, but if you want to get the actual written instructions for all 6 projects from the Stamping Society team, you can get the written tutorial with all the measurements in both metric and imperial by purchasing it from my tutorial store, which is $9.75 Australian, or the equivalent which currency you use. Or you can earn it for free by placing an order in my store of 35 Australian dollars or more, or joining my team, because my team always get all of my tutorials for free. So let's get started. I will show you the supplies I have pre-cut, and all of these are shown on that written tutorial. So I won't talk measurements, but if you want that, that's all in the written tutorial. So I have cut out 3 strips of silver foil. Now, we did used to sell silver foil in packets, but at the moment it's available in this packet here, which it's got, I think, Night of Navy, Coastal Cabana and silver, and that's part of the Waves of the Ocean limited edition suite. So this is the blue foil specialty paper, and that won't be around for too long because it is limited edition, but that's where I've got my silver foil from. And yes, I know I'm combining gold and silver, but I actually don't mind doing that. Now, I've got a scrap of basic black for my sentiment, and I've got a scrap of pale papaya for some stamping. I did pre-die cut out one of the detailed leaves from the Tropical Layers dies, which is this one here, and I've done that in gold foil and pale papaya. Now, I also did pull in a scrap of the basic white from some stamping. And then this is the important bit. I have pre-cut one of the slimline card bases. Now, in Australia, this is I've kept the width of the A4 cardstock, and I have made this 20 centimeters and scored at 10. So that gives you 20 centimeters by, I've got this on the inches side. I can't remember exactly off the top of my heart, and I should know. I feel like it's 20 something, but I'm going to check for you what the width of this cardstock is. It is 21 or 21. No, it's just 21. So essentially almost cutting a square. So it's 21 by 20, but you don't actually cut this way. That's the width of our cardstock. Now, I will, in the written tutorial, I will have the measurements for the imperial size slimline cards, because I think they might be slightly different. And you will notice that when when we do metric measurements, I think these slimline cards would actually fit the card base a little bit better. So I think we actually get we've got like a fatter card, and we're the same as that, I think, with our card bases, but I won't go into that. We just have slightly different card sizes. So if you're doing this with imperial measurements, you may have a little bit less white space at the top and the bottom, but that's totally okay. It just depends on what you're working with. Okay, so I have my card base, and then I've got 2 pieces of basic white thick. Now I did cut one of these to be sized for the inside, and I think, yep, it's the smaller one. So I've cut that down a little bit. And then I've got a piece of basic white, the same size as my card front, but that will be trimmed down, and you'll see that in just a moment. And then I've got a piece of the rainbow glimmer paper, which will be trimmed down to fit underneath this piece here. Okay, and then I cut a leftover strip for the inside of my card just for a bit of decoration. Okay, so I'm going to pop all these pieces to the side for now. And I will start by doing my die cutting. So I'm just going to make sure I've got the right piece again, because I've chucked pieces everywhere. Okay, so I want my basic white piece, and I'm going to line up my slimline card die. Now, I apologise if you can hear the loud noise. There's a helicopter flying right above the house because I live right near a hospital, so I live just up the road, so sometimes you hear that noise. Okay, so I'm just going to, it doesn't really matter where this lines up. I just want the ends here to be onto the cardstock. So I'm just going to use a little bit of washi to hold this down. Oops, like that. And then I'm going to bring in my die cutting machine, and hopefully it's going to fit onto the desk. Now, I find it best with dies like this to try and place it at a little bit of an angle. It is hard with this one because the die is so big, but I'm just going to place it at a little bit of an angle, and that helps with the cracking when it goes through the machine. So I'm just going to roll that one through. I apologise if that was bumping the camera. Okay, so let's pull that one out. And all those little bits are going to fall out. You could keep these and colour them. They would look really cool coloured with a blending brush and placed back into the die. So I just want to grab my washi off there. So for example, I could show you. It's just the tiniest little bit that didn't die cut, which you could get a trimmer, but I'm going to be super lazy and just snip it. It's only the tiniest little bit. So what I meant is you could actually colour these bits individually and pop them back in for an inlaid die cut look. It would be really cool. Okay, so I'm just going to move all these pieces out of the way. And I want to add back in my little piece here. So what I'm going to do is I might actually, this one's got more of the yellow at the top, but I might go for the opposite look for this one. So I'm going to grab some glue, which I did have out. You could cut this on adhesive sheets, and this step would actually be a lot easier. Thinking ahead of time, I probably should have done that. Every time I go to start a video, my glue's either almost empty or it's clogged. It's just a Kayla video. And I keep all of my backup adhesives at the other end of the house, which is always nice when you run out and you're on a video. Can we get a bit more glue out of it? I think we can. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to all of the edges. Look, I do have another glue here, but it's probably not much better. Okay, so I think maybe. Okay. I think I may actually have to go grab another glue. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, I am back. It has been a long time since I've opened a new glue. Can you tell I just pressed way too hard? Okay, so just going to add a little bit of glue to some of these pieces. You don't really have to do every single one, just enough that you've got enough adhesive to adhere this down. So I'm just going to add a little bit more glue to where I went over with the original glue stick. And then I'm just going to line this up as straight as I can with my rainbow glimmer piece. You could measure this and cut it perfectly, but I decided just to cut a piece approximately the right size. Once again, you could put this on a trimmer, but I actually like cutting things by hand. I'm a big fussy cutter and I don't mind the manual methods, but yes, you could put this in a trimmer and cut this down. I just find that nice and quick and easy, right? I might pop a little bit of glue on this one because it's sticking up a little bit. Just adhere that down. Right, now I want to bring in my card base again. Is that stuck enough? And then I'm going to bring in some foam adhesive strips. So that's, can you tell I love these things? The packet's almost empty. So these are our big long strips of adhesive. And what I'm going to do is add some of the strips onto the back of this piece. You could also use stamping dimensionals. It's up to you. I just like the long strips when I was doing this particular piece. So I'm just going to adhere a couple along there. May as well use those little scraps. Okay, now I'm not adhering them right to the edge, and the reason for that is because I'm going to tuck the silver foil underneath there. So I thought I might keep that bit free. I'm just going to adhere a couple to the middle to help that stick down. I don't think I really need to add any more. Depends how much you like your dimensionals. I know some people like to add heaps. Sometimes I do. Depends on what mood I'm in. Right. Okay, so I've got that piece, and now I'm going to adhere this to, I just want to trim this little bit down. Just a smidgen. So once this is stuck, there's no going back and trimming any more of this down. I just noticed it had moved ever so slightly. Right. Okay, so now I can stick this down to roughly the center of my card. And then I want to bring in 2 of these silver foil strips, and I am going to grab my glue stick and just add the ever so slightest bit of glue to the edge there. And then I'm going to take my silver foil and just tuck it in slightly underneath. And that's why I didn't want the adhesive, the foam adhesive, right to the edge there. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side here. Once again, go in and tuck my strip of foil. So once that's done, I'm going to go in and just trim these down. Just to trim off that overhang. Rightio, so that's the front basic bit of the card done. So now we can move on to a little bit of stamping. So I'm going to bring in my scrap piece of basic white, and I'm going to use my Stamparatus. Now, the reason I'm using my Stamparatus is because we're doing a fun technique called multi-tone stamping, and to do that, it's best to use a Stamparatus, or you could do it by adhering this stamp to a block and going, you'd only be able to do it once. You'd have to adhere it to a block and use sponge daubers to lightly add bits of colour to different sections. So you'd go in and you'd add a little bit of pink and then a little bit of orange, but you only get one chance to stamp it because you can't go back and stamp it in the same spot again. Well, you could try, but it might not be lined up perfectly. So with the Stamparatus, the cool thing about this tool is that you can go back and stamp it again and again without being worried that the paper or the stamp have moved. So what I'm going to do is do that and show you how I've done it. So I'm going to stamp my whole image in Pale Papaya. So I've put my cardstock down and added a magnet to hold it in place, and then I've put my stamp in a section where it's going to hit the cardstock. So I have inked this up in Pale Papaya and just stamped the whole image down. That gives us a nice base to work from. Now what I'm going to do is go in with some Flirty Flamingos. So I'm going to open up my ink pad, and I've got our sponge daubers, which I have them labelled with the colour that I want to use. So I have enough of these for each colour of ink that I own, which is nice. I'm going to ink that up and just go in and add a little bit of Flirty Flamingo where I think I might like it. I don't want to add it to the whole image. I'm just going to add a little bit and see if I'm happy with it. So I'm just going to press that down, and that's added some Flirty Flamingo in. It might be hard to see, but it's added a little bit of that pink in. I can come back and add more of this if I'm not happy with it. Now I'm going to bring in some polished pink. So I'm going to ink this up. Now this is a bit of a darker colour, so I'm going to go a little bit lighter with this one and add it in a few places. So I'm kind of focusing on the tips of some of my leaves. Now, because this is staying in the same spot, you can go back and add more. So don't be too worried about not being happy. You can go back and add it in. So it's totally fine. I'm just going to add a little bit more to a couple areas. Press that down. I'm a bit happier with that. Then lastly, I'm going to come in with some Mango Melody. I love Mango Melody. It's one of my favourite colours. And I'm going to add a bit of this in a few spots. So let's try that to start off with. Stamp that down. Beautiful. So I want to add some more down the bottom there because I think I've missed a little bit down the bottom. This is the cool thing about the Stamparatus, is I can continue going in and adding. So I want to add a little bit there. Beautiful. So I'm really happy with that. So you can continue going in and adding the colours that you think you need a bit more of. And because you've got it on the Stamparatus, it's perfect because you can just keep going until you're happy and it's stamping in exactly the same spot. So there's a look at the finished image. Now, what I'm going to do is I'll just pop that to the side and clean that a little bit after. The other bit of stamping I want to do is on some Pale Papaya cardstock. So I'm going to take this image here and stamp that just with a stamp block, an acrylic block, because I don't need to stamp it multiple times. So I'm just going to stamp that straight onto some Pale Papaya cardstock. And then I'm going to take my Pale Papaya Stampin' Blends and just add some colour. So I am essentially stamping tone on tone. So you might be thinking, what on the earth is she doing? But it does end up looking cool. So I'm just going to blend that out now with some light. So you don't often see Stampin' Blends colouring on anything other than basic white cardstock, but it does actually look really cool to do this tone on tone look on coloured cardstock. So you don't have to just stick to your white, you can do it on your coloured cardstock as well. just the main thing to be aware of is the GSM of the cardstock, so how thick it is. Because these are quite wet and they're alcohol based, they can bleed. So now I'm just going to go back in and re-add some dark in, because sometimes you do lose a little bit of that definition. So you can go back in and add some more dark to highlight areas that you want to be a little bit darker. I'm just going to add a bit more dark to the other side and then go back in and blend that out with my light. Okay. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So really cool to add, to stamp in a colour onto the same colour and even colour it with the same colour. So you can do lots of cool stuff. Now I have actually coloured this image with some Wink of Stella. Those that follow my crafting will know that I absolutely love Wink of Stella, and I will add it to everything if I get the chance to. So I'm going to colour my whole image with some Wink of Stella. This one, oh no, it's got some left. So I refill my Wink of Stellas with rubbing alcohol. If you haven't seen that, look it up on YouTube. Wink of Stella rubbing alcohol refill or something. If you type in those words, it'll come up on how to refill these great pens. And you can do it a couple times before you really have to replace it. So I have coloured that all in. Now it's time to die cut these images. So both of these images we have stamped, both have a coordinating die. And I'm chucking my stuff all over the desk. So I want to grab these two dies, and I'm just going to take a little bit of washi. Oops. And I'm going to line up my dies and just use a bit of washi to help hold them down. Like that. And then I can bring back in my die cut machine. And my plates might help. And then I'm just going to run these through my die cut machine. Just like that. And then we'll run through the other one. I absolutely love this multi-tone stamping look. It's so much fun to do on stamps that are a bit more solid like this one. I mean, you could do it with ones that are slightly more detailed, but the best look is when you use a solid stamp like this one. Okay, so we can put that to the side. And now we want to start with our decorating. So for this little image here, I'm actually just going to use my bone folder to slightly curl up the leaves a little bit. And that one's going to go roughly there, but we'll assemble everything else first. So those two are going to go like that. And this little gold one's going to tuck in there somewhere. So what I like to do, I'm a bit of a haphazard stamper. I like to sort of add adhesive and just piece everything together as I go with no rhyme or reason. I'll move things about until I'm happy. So I want that one to tuck in roughly there. So we can add some glue to that one. Now, biggest tip I have for this one is I've actually kept the insides in some of these, and I had to tape them in because I forgot to do it when I was cutting it out. But if you cut these out on adhesive sheets, that will more likely, so what I'm probably making no sense, but the insides of these will pop out. To get them to stay in, which I wanted for this one, if you cut it out on some adhesive sheet, it will stay in a little bit easier, and then you can just take the adhesive off and stick it onto your card. For the inside one, I don't care so much, but I just wanted most of those in for the outside one. Now I'm going to take the image that we stamped with multiple colours, and I'm going to adhere this one with some dimensionals. So I am down to the edges of my dimensionals on this sheet, so I've just cut them apart to use the edges. And I'm just going to stick that one about there. So now what I want to do is stamp by sentiment, and I'm going to stamp that in Versamark and heat it in white. So there's quite a few good sentiments in this set. I put sending all the hugs, which you'll be able to see there. But, you know, I could do something different. So I might do thank you for this one. So I'm just going to get a little thank you image and a block. Let's find a block to stamp with. And I am going to just add a little bit of powder. And then I did get my Versamark out. Oh, it's sitting right in front of me. Okay, so just going to grab some ink on that block and then stamp that down. I like to hold my, when I'm stamping with Versamark, hold it down for a few seconds to really let that Versamark transfer to the paper, because we want that to be super sticky when we're going to add our embossing powder over the top. So I like to really let it settle into the cardstock. Just going to give that a little flick. I love white embossing powder. White and gold are my favourites. Okay, so now I've got my heat gun. I'm just going to give that a few seconds to heat up. Okay, and then we can melt this embossing powder. Like that. Oops, can't turn it off now. Rightio, so this one's going to be a little bit of a different composition to the one I did on the original card, just because it's a different sentiment set out in a different kind of way. But I'm going to just roughly fussy cut around the thank bit of, I feel like I'm saying it wrong because it's not thanks, but the thank bit of the thank you. So I'm just going to, I should have worn my glasses. I knew that I'd probably should have worn them, but I forgot to. When I'm doing detailed stuff like this. So this month is kind of sad but exciting. So this is the last month of the annual catalogue, the current annual catalogue. And then we are saying hello to a lot more new products. So the mini catalogue goes through till June, but April is the last month of the annual catalogue. And some of the products carry over, but some we do say goodbye to make room for some new ones. So if you want to, if you're not already a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, you can definitely join with your demonstrator that you shop with, and you would be able to see the new catalogue now, because I've seen it and it's really cool. And you can even order from it early as a demonstrator, which is pretty cool. So there I've got the, I tend to have to tell myself to stop it at some point or another because I'll keep going. Right, now I'm just going to cut out the U. You could keep these together. I'm just really finicky and love making things complicated. But you could definitely keep the thank and the U together. Okay, so there we've got our little piece. And I'm going to stick that down and not think too much about it, otherwise we'll be here all day. So I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive and stick that down approximately where I want it. Now this side is higher than this side, but that doesn't bother me. Otherwise you could add tiny mini dimensionals if you really wanted to. Oh gosh, I hope the postie isn't coming to the door. It's funny how they always come when you're busy. I think my postie might be coming to my door. Okay, so I've got that little thank you stuck down, and now I want to go in with some embellishments. So I've got these really cute loose, what are they called? Loose flower flourishes. And I thought these were cute because they actually have the polished pink in there. So I wanted to stick a few of those down. So I'm just going to place them approximately where I think I might like them. So I think I'm going to do it about there. And they are perfect to just add some liquid glue to. So you just add the liquid glue and let them sit for a moment and they will adhere nicely. It's good to have you take your pick tool. These are the most handy tools ever for things like that. Place it in the glue and let that hold it down. And then the other thing I added was some of these iridescent flourishes. These are so pretty. If you haven't seen these are amazing, and they capture so many different, like they look different in every type of light that you catch them in. My English is a bit blah today. Can't talk. Okay, so I'm just going to add 3 of those gorgeous little, whoops, rhinestones. I'm just trying to decide where to put the other one. I might actually just put it next to it. Pretty. Okay, I might add just a little bit of Winker Stella, which I don't think I did actually. I think that one is the more empty of the lot. Oops. Add some Winker Stella. And then now it's time to decorate the inside. The inside's super simple. I have my piece of, oh, that's kind of cute with the yellow, but no. I've got my piece of basic white, and then I have cut a strip of the rainbow glimmer paper, and I have got another strip the same size of the silver foil. So don't forget, if you want the measurements, grab the document and you'll get everyone's project. So there's 6 demonstrators and we're from all around the globe. So you can grab the PDF and that will have all of the measurements and detailed instructions and supply list for each of these projects. This video is just designed to show you how to put it together. So I'm just going to stick, oh, I forgot a step. I was going to stick the glimmer, but I am going to stick, it's okay, I think I've caught it in time. I'm going to stick my detailed leaf die that I've cut out of pale papaya. So I'm just going to adhere that, and I just wanted to adhere that underneath where that rainbow glimmer will stick. I'm lucky, I'm glad I picked up on that before that was truly stuck. Okay, so I'll stick that down, and then I'm going to add a little bit of glue just along the edge here, and I'm going to stick my little bit of silver foil down. You could do this with gold foil as well if you wanted it to match that little leaf on the front. Now I'm just going to trim that, and then I can add a little bit of a glue to this piece, and then adhere that piece to the inside of my card. And we've got a beautiful card insert, really, really cute. And there's the outside. So that was a super fun card, slimline card, using a couple of my favorite mini catalog and annual catalog products. See how cool the glimmer paper is? I'm going to miss that glimmer paper. So I hope you enjoyed seeing this project today. And be sure to check out all the other videos and blog posts from the amazing Stampin' Society team. And I will see you guys back in May. Have a lovely month. Bye.